know. I mean, it needs water, and water is irrigation is another subject we're working on in another sector. It needs financing. I mean, the financing is needed also for the smallholders. And in particular, it also needs people who have the capacities and the capabilities. And there we're also working with, for example, on technical and vocational education training with UNESCO, where we have trainings for agriculture, farmers, but also giving them the information that we have on the best knowledge we have on irrigation, drip irrigation, maybe coming from Europe, but maybe also coming from Israel. But what we are trying to give to Uzbekistan is a possibility to grow, but with the best capacities and the best knowledge that we get from not only Europe, but also from anywhere in the world, where considering, in fact, some of the challenges that Uzbekistan is also facing regarding climate change, regarding other questions, which and we know, agriculture is important. Well, anyway, this is what I wanted to say. We do start to see impact. Just one impact I want to mention, because as was mentioned, GSP Plus is also, of course, an important tool that we are using. We've seen in fact, growth. This is also, a result. But also, we've also seen that the importance of implementing the conventions which are linked to GSP+. One of them, of course, you're very well aware of it, forced labor and child labor. We've been working a lot with ILO, but also, of course, with other partners. And that's also, these are also impacts. So there are huge things happening, but there's still a long way, and I think this is what I wanted to say. We're also happy to work not only with the government, but also with other stakeholders, being it you, private sector, but also, of course, also with civil society. We consider that civil society is also an important partner to work with.
Great. Thank you so much for your insights and your input. If I may just recap quickly from my perspective as moderator, also as investor in Uzbekistan, what I hear is that there is the vision from the Republic government, from the President's office, about the seriousness and the necessity for reforms. And then when we hear Minister Vaidov speak, he talks about the implementation of that directive from the administration. And with change, with reforms, it's not easy. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of stops and start overs and redos. But what I hear with this vision from the government and the implementation by the ministry, we're now having support by other governmental affairs like the European Union and other countries. And so we're beginning to see that the inputs, the representation of additional stakeholders are really beginning to be very serious on their impact, their input, and their execution, and their monitoring of all aspects of what's going on in Uzbekistan.
deeper engaged in the activities here in Uzbekistan. So from that perspective, we have identified 2 steps. It is, first of all, education on modern technology as a machinery itself, and then, of course, the second big part is educating on the digitalization. This is a multiple-year approach, but it is here quite fast, I have to say, and we are happy on this part. The second question was, what is in for the farmer if he digitalizes? Well, it is the same what is also applicable for a Western farmer in the US, in Germany, in Ukraine. Let me just summarize it. We can optimize with digital solutions the inputs, fertilizers, seeds. Optimization does not necessarily mean a reduction, but only by redistributing seed densities, fertilizer distribution to other places where it makes more sense, where you can easily exploit the potential. That is already leading to an optimization where also the efficiency, the economic efficiency is improved for the farmers. Ideally, it also leads to higher yield. Higher yield means higher profitability in ideal cases. And this again creates a positive cycle for the investment into new technologies or into the further qualification of the staff. What it also increases is the quality. It is very often not mentioned, but especially in the cotton sector. Without digitalization in the future, it will be tough to, first of all, maintain quality, but even more important, it is a precondition to document. Today, the supply chain demands more and more that you can answer as a manufacturer of cotton, where is each cotton coming from? If you cannot record and document this through digitalization, which is supposed to be a neutral source of information, you will lose access to the global market. So quality and access to the global market, which is also then again in reverse influencing on the competitiveness and on the profitability, are also actually factors which are in for the farmers. And having this said, I just would say, as a short conclusion, the progress here, and I repeat myself, is fast.
Thank you very much, Peter. As I listen to you talk about the answers to these questions, what I hear is digitalization is important, digitalization is available, but if we don't have education and knowledge to go with that, it's only data, it's not knowledge. So I think that's very important because Ambassador Adrian also spoke about ACUS, which is kind of a research, agricultural knowledge and information service here, and it adapts this technology, the application of it. So as a manufacturer, I think it's very important to have those types of opportunities available for the users, and I know that your company has done that here. But it's also essential that we look at the application of that to pure agricultural basis. So thank you very much for that. My next question and topic I would like to address to Mr. Chakrabarti. Suvra, while growing food product is a lot of times a problem for farmers, finding the right markets, the high-value export markets, it becomes sometimes very difficult to achieve. How can you help farmers with finding higher-value export markets for food-type products? Is there something there that you can give us some guidance and some vision for?
Thank you, Dan. Something happened with my voice. Can you hear me? You have to bear with me. Mr. Minister, Dan, with your permission, if I could speak in Russian. Assalamu alaikum. Я хотел бы по-русски общаться. As we heard just now, that the farmers have to plan for machineries, for digitization, but everything makes sense. Если фермерам надо вложить на оборудование, диджитизации, которое мы слышали только у Питера, но в конце концов продукт должен продаваться. У продукта должен быть большой рынок. Знаете, я приехал из Дубая, и где все то, что мы кушаем, мы импортируем 100% практически. Поэтому и наш регион, этот арабский мир и дальше Африка, это где демография увеличивается каждый день и самой большой скорости. Результаты это и есть сегодняшний день самый большой рынок со всего мира пищевой продукции. Мы не можем производить там, природа не позволяет. И в Африке в прошлом году импортировала 35 миллиардов долларов пищепродукции. И показывает вся статистика, что это только будет увеличиваться. Вот этот шанс для вас, это шанс. Я позавчера был в Казахстане, и там всего 30% аграрной площади используется сегодня, остальные прогуливают. А с другой стороны, в мире 8 миллиардов людей, которым надо кушать каждый день. Вот подобная ситуация и подобный шанс и у вас, господин министр, в Узбекистане. Так получилось, моя судьба вела в Украину 30 лет назад, как представитель сингапурской компании. Я начал работать там с того дня. А потом я делал свою компанию, и больше 100 стран, благодаря нашим усилиям, попал украинский продукт больше 100 стран мира. Сейчас война, которая парализировала экспорт из Черного моря, и это еще дало большой шанс для вас. Я тогда написал господину министру торговли Казахстана, что и давал дорожную карту, как центральноазиатские страны могут воспользоваться этой ситуацией, потому что в мире голод увеличивается. И я рад, что я теперь советник Министерства торговли Казахстана, чтобы помочь их продукции попасть в Дубай и дальше. И я хочу, конечно, вот этот опыт, 30-летний опыт, делать supply chain по всему миру, больше 100 стран мира, чтобы мог быть полезным и для вас. И здесь очень важно, знаете, когда мы говорим продавать дальний зарубеж, это же отличается от продавать в базаре. Да, у нас опыт очень интересный. Один узбекский трейдер привез бадом, вот у вас очень вкусные сухие фрукты, и ему в Дубае все вернули. Он потом ко мне жалуется, что видишь, если... он говорит, что там чуть-чуть жуки были на 10, в основном хорошо на 10% порчены. И говорит, за 10% в алайском базаре бы взяли и сказали, это натуральный продукт, выброси то, что плохое, бери то, что хорошо. Но когда ты идешь в экспорт, такие вещи не подходят. Да? Здесь поэтому практически инвестиция определенно нужна подготовки людей. Продавать в внутреннем рынке и продавать в внешнем рынке – это совершенно две задачи. И как найти покупателя, как довести товар до него в хорошем состоянии, как его удовлетворять так, чтобы он еще заказывал. И для Узбекистана логистика Азии и Африке определенная проблема, потому что landlocked, как называемый, да? Но в мире много стран landlocked. Есть решение. Я это, так как вот больше 100 стран я делал supply chain, я хочу, вот это наш опыт 30-летний, чтобы им могли быть полезным для Узбекистана. Потому что, я послушал ваш вопрос, что сухой регион, вода, большая ценность имеет здесь. Но представьте, Дубай, Шарджа в этом году первый раз собрал 8,5 тысяч тонн пшеницы. У них, естественно, намного хуже земля, чем у вас. И я знаю в Саудовской Аравии профессор, который работает в геномодификации помидора, чтобы помидор мог расти в соленой воде. Вот я думаю, даже и в таких местах есть большой шанс сотрудничества, которое я хотел предложить вам. Поэтому вкратце хотел сказать, инвестиция и планирование производства, когда вы, или выращивание, когда вы планируете, вместе с этим надо инвестировать и планировать долгосрочная продажа, дальний зарубеж. И продукции, как лакрица, суком очень дорогая, может быть, продукт от него, или ваш green mung, это морж, они очень мало потребляют воды, но очень большое потребление в азиатских рынках. Я поэтому готов сотрудничать с вами, Узбекистаном, чтобы продовольственная безопасность Азии и Африки, Украина играла, Узбекистан играл большой и правильный роль. Спасибо.
Mr. Chakrabarti, that was very informative. Thank you so much for sharing, and it was very insightful. As I think about the recap of that input, earlier Minister Vaidov spoke about cotton and talked about land allocations and potentially reducing the number of hectares committed to cotton. You know, to be able to do that, we look at the technologies, the digitalization, the data to be able to see what are our true yields, because we're going to have to create the same or higher yields on a smaller amount of land so that we can begin to grow alternative crops for human consumption and even export and look at the impact to the economy. We look at what Ambassador Adrian spoke of with ACUS again, because it's the application of all of these things coming together. If I hear what you said correctly, the importance of human food in production in Uzbekistan, because this is quite the agricultural basket for Central Asia, food security will become national security. And we need to look at that very seriously as Uzbekistan's agricultural sector, so that food security throughout the country, and then the export potential to our neighbors and across the world, those expectations can be met, and also the economy and the economics of that can be utilized by Uzbek growers and farmers. So that leads me to the next topic and the next question that I'd like to address to Mr. Jian. If we could maybe focus a little bit on your area of expertise. We've seen digitalization and technology advance very rapidly in Uzbekistan. But to do some of the things we just mentioned, if we're going to take some hectares from cotton and put another culture there, what needs to be considered and taken into consideration with genetics? And what types of cultures might be appropriate for this type of climate in Uzbekistan?
Thanks, Dan. It's my great pleasure to come over to here and to meet new friends and also answer your questions. I think the digitalization, all the things needs to be digitalized, but you need talented people, you need education to make the data become a knowledge, as you said before. And that's a very challenging thing. So we come over to here, they will bring three things to come over to here. First of all, we are the genome research institute and also the companies. And we contribute to almost 60 to 70% of agriculture crop data for the world. And that means we have been good for the genetic and genomics digital data sequences. But we want to transfer this data to the knowledge. I think, and then for the Central Asia countries, especially in Uzbekistan, and they need to have this kind of people to team up, work with us. And they already visited our headquarters in China a month ago. They asked us to build a genome center in here. We promised we are going to do it, and we already built a genome center for precision medicine. And I think if in the future we are also wants to build the precision agriculture, especially for the breeding, for the seeds design. That will be very important part. And then second, as I said, the education, the talent people is more important. We cannot send more people always come over to here. Even for us, we are the labor of the Uzbekistan. But from Shenzhen to here, it's a 7 hours flight. It's too far away. So we need to have some kind of joint master PhD program to make sure the people, local people, learn all these technologies and to catch up with the Western countries and all channels. And then this is the second sense I would suggest. The third one is we come over to here for the water servant technology. And then we do desert, what's called solidization. And last year, we are named as the global challenger. We win the prize from the Prince William. And we can easily to change the desert to the land. And this technology also is very, very useful for this dry area. And it's not only save the water, also to improve the land to make a more high yield, high quality products. But again, this new technology needs people to adapt it, to transfer from China to here. That's whatever. That's the reason I come over to here. I really want to bring this technology to change this situation in here, and not only in Uzbekistan, also in the Central Asia countries. We have we already did some pilot study in Africa, in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, all of these countries. And here is another stop for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I hear you saying is that now, with the reforms and where Uzbekistan is, with a lot of the technologies that have been introduced, with the progress that has been made, I believe I hear you saying now is the right time, and you're committed to investing in Uzbekistan and helping from the genetics and the progress of agriculture from a genome perspective. Yeah, so thank you very much for this, because as we continue to move through our session and we talk about the different challenges that we face, there's one challenge that everyone in agriculture faces, and that's an issue of water and water management and water resources and the scarcity and the preciousness of this natural resource. So I'd like to direct my next question to Sergey Stefanov at Valmont Valley Irrigation. Sergey, with the need for water conservation, especially in agriculture and the advancements of modern irrigation methods available to farmers in clusters, how affordable are they, and what are some of the unique advantages that you see that your technologies can offer to farmers in clusters?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dan, for that question. And first of all, welcome and thank you so much for organizing for that forum, for having a topic of agricultural investments within investment forum in general, as everybody around the globe believes that agricultural investments is very, very essential for all the countries. And as you said, my name is Sergey Stefanov, and I'm just one of the youngest within this table. I'm just 20 plus years in agriculture and working for Valmont company, who is a recognized global leader in mechanized irrigation, and started that industry 70 years ago, almost 70 years ago, introducing the first pivot, and it's known in Uzbekistan as a Fregat machine. And now we manufacture and provide solutions to growers around the globe, including Uzbekistan, with the modern technologies on mechanized irrigation. It's also known as a sprinkler irrigation, which being recognized as a water-saving and energy-saving technology. And in today's world, we offer wide variety of solutions for different farmers. But I was gonna take a little pause and say that by the nature of our business, as we are dealing with different kind of investors around the globe, and I would say there are three main types of these investors as they are investing in agriculture and irrigation at the same time. So first is more of a retail style domestic growers who are looking for the opportunity to improve their results, quantity-wise, quality-wise, and enhance their productivity and reduce their costs. And the second type is agricultural investors around the globe who likes to invest into agriculture and make it secure, and irrigation makes the investment secure, so they consider as a part of their investments in establishing a scalable and manageable irrigation system. And the third part of investors, which we face a lot, especially in developing countries, ag developers, people who actually build farms for a few years and just sell them as an equity, increasing the price of that equity on the market. And we serve all of them, as our solutions make those investments secure, improve productivity, and make it scalable. And today, our solutions are available for farmers in Uzbekistan. And our personal experience actually started back in 2005. We had that special project when we provided irrigation machine to Uzbek university for studying and testing that for a couple of years. And the results of that study were very positive on different crops. And we know that around the globe, but since that time we didn't have much progress, and in the recent years we started again supplying machines to different growers in Uzbekistan, and at the same time we have a project of capacity building, training farmers, as it was said around the table, to utilize 100% of the capacity of our products and our technologies on farm, on fields, so that farmers can achieve expected results at the same level like people do that around the globe, in US, Australia, if we speak about the cotton industry, or even like in Turkey, or they achieve the results people achieve in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, where our irrigation machines pivot are widely used, and that's true that Uzbekistan agricultural potential is the largest in Central Asia. However, the water-saving technologies, and that's the matter of fact, are more introduced in Kazakhstan. Why? Because water scarcity there is just more considerable than here. At the same time, we had a very nice, very interesting session with the Ministry of Water Resources on water management, and their assessment shows that by 2030, Uzbekistan will have 25% less water available, which means without intensive introduction of water-saving technologies, and that can be any kind of water-saving technologies, Uzbekistan will have to drop a quarter of farmland by 2030, which is in 7 years from now. And the total productivity will be different. But going back to what we do have a special project here on the capacity building together with AKIS, with the university in Tashkent, where we implement irrigation technologies, train people, train students, and we're ready to develop that and train not just students, but farmers and professors, and expand that education. And most important, that that machine is equipped with the latest Valley technology, with all the remote controls, soil moisture sensors, and that just needs to be learned. It doesn't mean that all the farmers in Uzbekistan will be using the latest technologies, but at least they have to see what they do, how it performs, and how it affects the soil quality, which is the major asset in agriculture and farming, because it's known in many countries that with the proper soil management and irrigation practices, you can achieve improvement of soil and improvement of soil health in that. So that's very important on that subject. And I just want to add a little thing which resonates to me and started by Mr. Patterson about food brands. And that's something where Uzbek government has to look deeply, and I believe that's the biggest opportunity and the quickest win as myself as a consumer. And I go to the grocery store in Almaty, where I live in Kazakhstan, and there are just tomatoes, cucumbers, and everything, like different varieties, and I can recognize actually Israeli-made and US-made products and no-name products. When I go to a flea market in Almaty, there's a special brand called Tashkent tomatoes, and they have a premium price comparing to all others. Because on the flea market, that's already recognized brand, and I don't know whether it's a Tashkent tomato or not, but that's the matter of perception, because the seller knows that I would rather buy a Tashkent tomato, and he sells to me a Tashkent tomato. And another example, when I go to Moscow. And in Moscow, in Russia, it's the same store in the grocery store, and in the flea market, this brand is known as Uzbek tomato. Why? Because again, the seller on the flea market, he knows that I am, as a consumer, would rather buy an Uzbek tomato, a high-quality tomato, and pay a premium price comparing to some others, because my previous experience showed to me that it's a product which I liked. But again, on the branding side, Uzbek tomato and Tashkent tomato, that's different brands and there is no consistency. And the most important, that the global world is moving, as it was mentioned, to a consumption in the grocery stores. And there is no Uzbek brand in the grocery store on that side. And for investors, it's very important that they have access to the markets. They have a wide variety of selling points of the products, and it goes all the way to logistics, which being talked about on that forum, on transportation. And logistics is not just a cargo train or a vehicle. That can be aircraft, and that takes cool storages, which is a big challenge here. And that's one of the part of those investors. But coming back to the farming side, without water-saving technologies, and that's being recognized globally. And that's why Valmont, as a company, growing year after year, we basically doubled our revenues from irrigation side in the last 3 years, year after year. So that's important to increase government support, provide education, do capacity building for students, professors, farmers, who should be able to use water-saving technologies at the full capacity. Thank you.
Sergey, thank you very much for this very informative. One piece of information that I know about your company that I want to highlight, as Minister Vaidov speaks about, reallocation and looking at different cultures on lands and trying to find more arable land, I know that your particular technologies sometimes have the ability to offer irrigation where maybe furrow or the traditional flood irrigation here is not available. So I see, Valley's unique approach to their systems being flexible and maybe over contours that ordinarily can't even have irrigation. So, potentially that could open up more arable land in the country as we look to expand under the leadership of Minister Vaidov.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I know you for quite a while. We met first time like 4 years ago on the Water Forum in Almaty. And as an American citizen, you know the pivot abilities, the pivot technology. For some other countries, that's still being an undiscovered opportunities. Because that's true. Like for me, it's obvious that mechanized irrigation can be used on a large variety of landscapes. And that was told here about the new technologies in laser leveling. That was the same topic on the water resource session. But for example, mechanized irrigation, this job of laser leveling is not necessarily needed. And the pivots widely used in the mountain areas, we supply to Chile, we supply to Georgia, we supply to Azerbaijan, and most of those machines are operating in a difficult mountain hilly conditions. But that's a matter of fact that every single water-saving technology or solution has to be properly designed for existing infrastructure, existing farms, fields, and different limitations, whether it's water limitation, whether it's land limitation, some barriers, whatever. And in today's world, these design capabilities, they exist. And we also provide that support to growers and universities and ready to share different experiences. And we recently had a team from Ukraine on designing and supporting installation on one of the farms because they do have that capacity. They have the knowledge, they have the expertise, and they're ready to share that. And we introduced that to the country and bringing up those resources.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your input and your insights. As we begin to look to the end of our session, our last speaker, Steve Naderny, is no stranger to Uzbekistan. Steve has been here since the mid-90s, and you've seen a lot of change. And CNH Industrial has been a very heavy industrial supplier of ag equipment in Uzbekistan for quite some time. Steve, I know that there are a lot of topics that we discussed today, and there's analysis of farming practices here in Uzbekistan that's showing that farmers and clusters, these teams need a material upgrade in their ag machinery knowledge. They need the know-how essentially from the West. Importing Western equipment and not using it at full scale is an unaffordable luxury. So what are the plans, if there are any, on education of agro specialists? How do they interact with CNH Industrial? Is the government and the Ministry of Agriculture open for any proposed collaboration from business on this side?
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Minister, Madam Secretary, fellow panelists. Thank you for this opportunity. As Dan mentioned, Case IH is the oldest American investor in the country. We've been here for nearly 3 decades. Through all the ups and downs, and recent policy changes have also given us hope for the future. We were extremely pleased yesterday when the President talked about privatization. He didn't mention specifically, but he was talking about Presidential Decree number 102 that was signed last month for the privatization of JVs, and we are extremely excited about it and looking for that to be implemented. As the ambassador said, we need to continue the reforms, and this is just one step in the reform process. We've been here so long, we've been a partner with the industry. We've seen how state and private businesses have been promoting investments in the high-end ag technology, machinery, whether it's brand new tractors, combines, self-propelled cotton pickers. However, we believe it's only the tip of the iceberg. We're confident that the agro-technology needs to be entirely reformed, not just for harvesting. For instance, for Dan, for you particularly in the cotton, you have mechanical machines, but as you know, your fields to increase your yield, you have to be properly plowed, planted, cultivated, sprayed, and preferably using technology, in particular GPS. You just can't buy one of our new Case IH cotton pickers and go harvest your field unless it's been planted correctly. So we see that as a challenge, but also the opportunity. And as Sergey talked about for water resource management, environmental concerns, those are also moving forward, and we'll need to concentrate on that as well. One of the things we offer is the Case IH AFS connected system. This provides an end-to-end solution that allows you to remotely monitor and manage your farm and fleet, placing information at your fingertips that you can easily monitor, manage your operations from anywhere in the world at any time. It also gives you advantages for your operations with auto guidance tools that allows you to achieve repeatable accuracy from sub-inch levels and beyond. Auto guidance, it lets you reduce skips, overlaps, saves time, fuel, labor. It lets you better manage your seed and fertilizer, chemical inputs, and simplify operations. However, to your question specifically, frequently we've come across recently the fact that the farmers and clusters are making decisions to invest in ag machinery that they lack sufficient knowledge to produce the correct choice. The last several years, we've had clients, ordering equipment that doesn't really meet their needs. So as we see it, as our role as we run our global business is to collaborate with farmers and clusters to increase their awareness and knowledge on new developments and trend in ag mechanization. For example, here with Tashkent University, we've supplied equipment for teaching and training also in Bukhara. We have 13 service centers throughout the country that we bring farmers into each year to learn and to teach. And so it's been a long, love relationship with this country, and we've been looking forward to the continuing reforms and moving forward. But we also have, witnessed the fact that, state subsidies have been designed to support industry with cheap funding, but have also squeezed out some of the private investments in the market. Thus limiting an investment pool to only state funds as private investors were not able to compete with some of their proposals. We believe that the equal market conditions for all participants is a win-win for everyone. Hence, it would be a good opportunity for incentivized private financial institutions to invest in ag mechanization, continue the implementation of reforms, and to allow us to help modernize and mechanize the rest of the ag industry as we've been doing for nearly the past 3 decades. Rahma.
Thank you, Steve. Well, the implementation of all of this knowledge is essential to the success and the sustainability of agriculture in Uzbekistan. I would like to maybe address another question to Minister Vaidov. Given the discussion that we've had here today, talking about different elements of stakeholders' interest, development, progress, can you give us some insights into the current priorities and plans that the Ministry of Agriculture has that can help attract private investment in the agro-food sector?
Rahmat. Den bugungi fursatdan foydalanib barcha spikerlarimizga minnatdorchilik bildirmoqchiman. Juda qishloq xo'jaligi sohasidagi juda muhim bo'lgan masalalar bugun muhokama qilindi. Ayniqsa mana Charlotte Edrin xonimlari aytib o'tganlaridek, davlat boshqaruvidan boshlab turib, umuman bilim bo'yicha mana genetika bo'yicha bugun muhokama qilindi. Umuman ishlab chiqarishdagi raqamlashtirish, texnika, texnologiyalardan foydalanishi va albatta bularni mahsuli o'zimizda o'sha qayta ishlash zanjirini butun to'laqonli yetkazish va eksport masalalari mana bugun Chakraborti janoblari tushuntirib berdilar. Men o'ylayman, hamma bugungi ishtirok etgan hamkasblarga bu juda faqat foydali bo'ldi. Hozirgi siz aytib o'tganingizdek, xususiy sektor bo'yicha alohida haqiqatan bizda ham juda katta islohotlar amalga oshiryapti. Qishloq xo'jaligi yo'nalishida boyaga aytganimdek, o'sha strategiyamizda ham shu narsa aks ettirilganki, qishloq xo'jaligida davlat boshqaruvini kamaytirib ko'proq xususiy sektorga ajratish. Va mana hozir aytib o'tgandek, shu texnika bo'yicha ham, texnologiya bo'yicha ham yaqindagina mana hurmatli prezidentimizning qarorlari ham chiqdiki, bunda shu texnikada lizing beruvchilarni xususiy sektorga ko'paytirish, o'sha mablag'larni xususiy sektorga yo'naltirish, texnikani bozorni kengaytirish bo'yicha ham, o'sha o'rtada raqobatni kuchaytirish bo'yicha ham yengilliklar berildi. Men o'ylayman, bu bugungi spikerlarimiz ham tanishgan bo'lsa kerak bu qaror bilan. Umuman olganda bu sohada juda katta hozir ketma-ket islohotlar amalga oshiryapti. Mana yer reformasi bo'yicha ham aytib o'tildi. Bu eng bizning oldimizda turgan katta masala. Biz birgalikda mana strategik rivojlantirish agentligi hamda Yevropa ittifoqi bilan birgalikda bu yo'nalishda ishlayapmizki, endi shu yil oldimizga maqsad qo'yganmiz. Yer egalik huquqini shu kuchaytirish bo'yicha shu qonun loyihasida ishlayapmiz. Bu ham shu sohaga xususiy sektor sohaga kirib kelishini, investitsiyalarni kirib kelishini ham imkon beradi. Rahmat.
Thank you, Minister. In kind of summarizing and closing here, I would like to just highlight a few key issues that, Uzbekistan's economy is certainly emerging with the agro sector at 25% of GDP, as I mentioned in the beginning. But innovation and investment opportunities are showing up everywhere, whether it's in horticulture, viticulture, aquaculture, animal husbandry, crop rotations, food crop development, irrigation strategies and improvements, soil health management, satellite imagery, digitalization, consulting services, and I could spend the next 30 minutes going through the rest of the list. So the point is that the reforms have taken hold in Uzbekistan. They have created opportunities. It's not only supported as a vision by the president and the president's administration, it's being carried out by the ministries. As everyone knows, change is difficult and it is not perfect. We must continue to improve and give candid feedback on our struggles, obstacles, as we begin to try to implement these different changes and opportunities in the country. President Mirziyoyev has established the Foreign Investors Council as a direct access for candid feedback. And I will tell you, as a member of that council and several other of the companies that are here, that process is beginning to work. We're having meetings, we're having candid discussions, we're talking about tough situations and tough issues, and we're coming up with good solutions. And we're beginning to see those roll out in very short order. So it's a very positive piece for investors to know that there is a very high-level, candid structure in place for their feedback and interest. And so the areas of strategic interest for current and future reforms that are discussed by Minister Vaidov should be the areas of interest, for those individuals considering to invest in Uzbekistan, because the future is very bright. That light doesn't burn by itself. It's a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders coming to the table and holding it up and pushing it forward. So I would like to thank our distinguished panelists for your participation in today's session. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. We may have time for one or two questions if anyone has a question for any of the members. Well, with no questions, our session is adjourned. Thank you so much for your attention and participation.